My name is Michael Compitello, and I'm so excited to share with you this performer's guide to Unsnared Drum. Unsnared Drum is a collection of new pieces for the snare drum by Tonya Ko, Amy Beth Kirsten, Han Lesh, and Nina Young. More importantly, it's a set of 4 collaborations. And in this performer's guide, I'm excited to share with you information about these pieces, of course, how to play them, how to prepare them. But more importantly, I'm excited to explore with you what we can learn about learning through the process of putting together these collaborations. What's a performer's guide? What I hope to explore with you in these videos is not just what I do, and not just a bar-by-bar description of these pieces, but I hope to explore a method or an approach to learning music that blends study, analysis, technical development, and advocacy. What I hope we can find together is a guide to interpreting these pieces, not just a guide to performing them. For each of these 4 pieces, we're going to introduce the creative collaboration, talk a little bit about how the composers and I work together in developing these pieces. Then we're going to go big and talk about style. We're going to try to characterize each composer's output. We're going to talk about extant works that might have inspired the pieces of Unsnared Drum, or who have works that have similar characteristics. We're going to try to go big to connect these composers' music to larger trends, and then talk about their music in general. Then for each piece, we'll try to characterize the work. We're going to try to get inspired by the piece and fall in love with the piece. Because for me, falling in love is step 1 to learning something new. Along the way, we're going to dig into the details of the music. We're going to try to identify special moments and explain why they might be special. This is part of doing meaningful musical analysis, and along the way, we'll do some of that with the hope that you do some on your own as well. All of this together develops what's called a mental representation, which is a multisensory idea, a multimodal idea of what something's like when it's right. And if you develop one of these, you have a tremendous head start in your learning when you start to practice. We're going to try to weave together humanities' ideas about how we learn from the past, scientific ideas about how our bodies learn, and then our own intuitive understanding of how music works. I'm going to try to give some suggestions about what you might need to play each piece, some ideas about implements, instruments, technology, etc. And then we're going to try to, in the process of exploring these special moments in the music, think about how we can connect the dots between developing the technique necessary to play them and connecting that to a larger musical idea, to an interpretation, not just a performance. Finally, along the way, we'll touch upon how to break a complex task into component parts, how to chunk something and develop a new skill, a complicated new skill, in a way that's flexible and durable and intuitive. These pieces are full of what might traditionally be considered extended techniques. They reinvent the drum with a whole variety of ways of playing the instrument and ways of listening to the instrument. So in order to perform them effectively, we need to develop these techniques in a rigorous and disciplined way so that we can deploy them flexibly, musically, and profoundly on the stage. We're going to be talking a lot about performance practice for the snare drum and percussion by extension. But I have sort of 3 secret and maybe now not so secret goals for this endeavor. First, I hope we can explore a framework for how to learn music based on humanities methodologies, scientific discoveries about how our bodies work, and cultural studies. Actually, it's more of a framework for interpreting music, not just learning music. And for me, that means how are we going to bring something to life in a way that connects with people? Along the way, I hope that we can explore a way of learning music or a way of learning anything that's sort of based on falling in love with the moments in that thing. And finally, I hope that we think about a reason to do all of this, a reason to learn music. For me, that reason is to connect with people. It's to empower our friends and our colleagues, but it's to build community around the work that we do. That's the reason we do what we do, not just for acclaim. We do it to transform ourselves and then transform and empower the connections between us. Through this project, I'm going to talk a little bit about my creative process, particularly my collaborative process, something I've honed for many years and I've been really fortunate to explore with a number of incredible collaborators, 4 of whom we'll talk about through this project. I want to talk about how to play these pieces, of course. It is a performer's guide. But if you're watching this and you're not a percussionist, I hope you can think with me a little bit about our role as collaborators, how we can create work with others, and how we can bring that work to life in a way that connects with people.